Hello everyone, this is Hava, and today we have my dear Natasha coming to teach us all about the probiotics, how to choose the correct one, and truly find out what are those probiotics that we are all looking in the market or hearing about. So let me invite her. One second. Amazing followers that are coming on the show. It's amazing. Yes. And here's my dear Natasha. So quick
Yes,
and amazing.
it's when it works, it works. I'm here watching it visually, so
Yes, I'm so excited. Each time I see you, it's like a whole light. You brighten the whole internet.
ah, thank you. I've told you many times I've stayed because I deal with doctors' offices and I deal with their, pediatric physicians. I deal with other doctors, and they actually just give their patients to me to help them restore their microbiome. And I think the doctors with insight are realizing that we cannot continue managed care where we're managing disease and giving people tons of pills just to take care of symptoms. We've come to the age where we need to give the body the tools to heal itself.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, as we talked before, there are no standards that anybody's following. And it's too serious of a time in the history of our nation that we cannot afford to not be educated and not to know the difference between, the space shuttle and the car you go with the kitchen sink. There's, they're both modes of transportation, but vastly different.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, I will translate for more people. So you need to understand we live in
You'll-
we live in a very unique times that there is so much information out there.
yeah,
There is so many truly need to know which one is the best one, which one truly will help you. And you also have to understand into the depths, because once you open your eyes, you cannot unclose them. You will always keep them open, and you will be educated, and you will continue passing this knowledge to others. That's why we are here, to truly teach you how to really differentiate between the good and the bad. Okay, that's the
yes.
idea.
And we both come from the old school, Hava,
Yes,
where we believe that mothers should be the first educators of the child, and that we have an obligation not to forget those things that came down from our civilizations that helped people naturally. We've lost connection to that source and what we really need, and what all this other stuff that we don't need.
absolutely, I agree with you. So the first question, I prepared some questionnaire. I'm not so
Sure.
I usually go with the flow, but I know that many people want to know some basic questions. So let's say we walk into the store, and there is a whole line of probiotics, even if you go to Whole Foods or any other stores. So what should they do? What they should look for? So maybe we should just kind of cover that, and then we continue. I have other questions, but let's start
Okay.
basic.
So
They need to understand that in the store, when you walk in, there is a lot of supplements. Not all of them are equal. Okay, now you do it.
Well, okay. So I was chosen by the health food industry to write the second probiotic standard. I wrote the first, and then in 1994 I read the second probiotic standard. That, by the way, was read into congressional record and used by the industry to pass something called the Deshay Amendment that allowed that allowed the industry to make structure function claims. Okay, so I'm not just anybody telling you anything. And I established the whole refrigerated section in the supplement area. I established the first refrigeration when I worked for my father's business in 1970. There were no refrigerators, no food, nothing in the stores. And then I had an uphill battle to force people to put refrigeration. And I told them not only natural, safe probiotics, need to be kept cool all the time, but also things like royal jelly, certain oils. We know that fish oils go rancid. So this is a different story. So the fact that they have all these products in the shelf, do you think all these people are actually formulating these products? No. The dirty secret is that they go to contract manufacturers and they have no clue about formulation. And the manufacturer will actually give them little suggestions of what they can put in their product without telling them if the bacteria they're planning to use get along, or they're going to start eliminating itself once it's in a capsule and in the bottle. And second of all, they don't even know why they're putting those ingredients in there. They're just telling the person who's paying for the private label what they want to hear. And they only show them scientific literature that supports their position. So at the end, virtually all of those products on the shelf in the refrigerator are misbranded or mislabeled. They don't tell you the right information.
Maybe you should explain what does mean contract manufacturer. Maybe many people don't understand what doesn't exactly means contract.
Okay. So many years ago, in order to save their businesses, the health food industry went into someone who was only manufacturing the product. So what the FDA used to do in the old days, come and seize your whole plant if they didn't like the claim you were making about your product. So in order to protect them, people started separate businesses where they would make thousands of products under a private label, meaning they didn't own the product, they were just performing a service to make the product. So there's no scientific backup. There's no real formulator. There's only people that have guarded information and that just throw this guarded information to someone who doesn't really understand. And they go for it because that's what's selling.
Okay, amazing.
The,
Hopefully that people understood. Okay, okay,
yeah.
okay. Now we understand about about contract manufacturing. We understand that how actually most of the products end up on the market in your
Yes.
market, and that's all about also a nice wording, which is kind of tricky because when we don't understand and we look at the names, like there was one that I snapped that picture from very like good probiotic that sits on the shelf, let's say, and there was so many names and there was so many explanation that how it's been tested and this and that, and we kind of maybe just want to set a certain priorities, like
Okay.
if I'm now walking into the store, now I understand that most of the products that I see, I have to look who is behind. Is the one who puts his products, it's actually also the one who is making his own product and not the manufacturer.
Okay.
Good for me. Now, go, not, yeah.
Okay, so what I want to stress to people, there's one very simple thing you can apply to every product. First of all, there's no such thing as a shelf-stable probiotic.
Very important. Remember,
Yeah.
everyone. Remember,
Okay.
please.
Okay. What it is a misrepresentation. They're telling you the product will probably maintain its potency if it's not exposed to temperatures above 72 degrees Fahrenheit. There is no such temperature that exists in transportation, in warehousing. And when the person gets the product, because I've been doing this for 60 years and I have firsthand experience of thousands of people, they have no idea. It's like they'll leave their child in a hot car. If they're going to leave their child or pet in a hot car, what do you think this little bottle that tells them it's shelf stable? They're going to throw it in a hot trunk. They're going to leave it in the direct sunlight because the majority of the people have no idea what the temperature of 72 degrees refers to or where it's prevalent. So that is not readily available on the label, but they do tell you on the label, keep it in a cool and dry place. I would say vastly that 75% or more of the people don't even see that small print. And that product is now exposed to a lot of mishandling, which stresses the cells to the point where they have a hard time surviving gastric juices, and bile. So, and what does survive is not capable of utilizing any more energy to attach to your small or large intestine wall or to do any good. So you have to think you can't be beating these organisms up. They're smart. They're not going to waste their energy to impress us. So the very simplest thing you can see on the label, and this is what the standard that I wrote that was read into congressional records said, whatever bacteria you list on that label, you have to have a specific potency guaranteed for that organism. It's not accepted for you to just give a total count of all the bacteria and think that that's good enough. Does that make sense? So each bacteria you list on that label has to have a specific uh, potency through a printed expiration date. What they'll do is they'll give you a total potency,
Yes.
and you have no idea what's surviving, how it's surviving, and what condition it's in once it reaches your stomach. And this is the biggest marketing gimmick that we have in our industry, and it's really, really bad
Exactly.
because they'll quote, for instance, I'll tell you, they'll take the research from one organism, they'll list it on the label, but they don't tell you how much they have of it, if it's even in there. Because once you mix them all up, it's very difficult to find out how much you have of each one. So that's one way that they take cover. So unless you know exactly what that organism is doing in that probiotic product, what's the guaranteed potency, the product is useless. It's useless because you have no idea what that bacteria is doing with that group of other bacteria. Because I'll tell you right now, most bacteria do not get along. It's called competitive
That's,
exclusion.
that's next question. Wait,
Yeah.
first we're gonna settle on that. I truly
Mhm.
want to understand. This is a very important. Now, and that a very important thing is that when you look at the bottle and tells you strains, it just tells you all strains when they combine all together, not each individual strain. Okay,
Yes.
that's a big, big problem. And when you look, and that's what sometimes people would come to me and say, Hava, but on this probiotic that you giving to us, it just shows there is only like 5 billion, but the other one shows 100 billion or whatever the numbers they will come up. And I said that's not correct, because the idea is not when you combine it, but also again. So let's go step number one before we
Okay.
go.
So each
Number one,
so
stable. Let me first.
okay.
You're gonna correct me so everyone will understand. Number one, if it's in still sits on the shelf, then question number one, that's not good, because there's no such thing as a bacteria sitting on the shelf. Okay, so that's not good. So that 90% of probiotics can stay on the shelf. They're not for you if you're truly committed to heal yourself. The next thing, when you look at the label and you will tell you 100 billion blah 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 blah, and you might say, oh, they're so good. But if you then read in the back, and you will see they will tell you all bacteria, not usually they will put many names of bacteria, like you have to be a chemist to understand, but the idea is they put a lot of names, and then they will tell you they all together will give you this amount. That's a big no no no, because now you say why.
Each one of them has their own primal directive on how many of those units you need to survive stomach acid and bile to do any good in your body. If you don't know how much you have and they claim they have 100 billion, it's meaningless because they're going to give you cheap bacteria that they try to press the numbers, but they really can't function because they're all their primal directive is just to grow more of their kind, and they lose the ability to really perform those necessary functions that your body needs. So that's a trick. So you have to be aware of that. You can't just choose by the numbers, because it doesn't matter how much they claim on the label. It's what survives stomach acid and bile that makes the difference.
Okay, so remember, no numbers, because the idea is that they should all be alive and well, and when you swallow them, they should go in and say, okay, it's time to go to work.
That's
But
right.
if they're tired or they've been fighting in the bottle, that's what we're going to
Mhm.
cover now, the next thing, and they're all fighting with each other for survival, then they come into your stomach like, Who wants to work there? Let me
Mm-hmm.
just disappear. I don't want to stay here. Do you understand? You work with a live bacteria. So it's very important why I'm trying to visualize that, so that way you visualize that. It's not that we're talking about herbs that have a unique light and a different things. We're talking about live bacteria. We're talking about live individuals, kind of, that are living in a bottle. So I want you to truly think about this. When you look, are they alive or they're dead? Did they have a fun time sitting in the bottle? How long they've been sitting in the bottle? You understand? So we already understand so much more. Now once you understand the basic, now let's go to the next. Natasha, when they put too many strains, what happens inside the bottle?
There's a big fight for dominance because their primal directive is ex, exclude the competitors. Competitive exclusion. I was trying to say this in a easier way, but it means you get rid of your competition because their primal directive is to multiply their own kind. And if they can't multiply their own kind, then they're going to start eliminating each other. The friendship in the bacterial world is very few and far between. And those we can talk about, that actually the bacteria only become friends when each one of them is contributing to the other one to thrive. If that's not the case, they're going to try to eliminate each other by making substances that stop them from growing. And if they stop growing in the bottle, they have no food coming, nothing's going on, they're just going to die. They're just not going to continue trying to use energy for nothing. They're very smart. They're actually a lot smarter than we are. And people take a very cavalier attitude about something that's smart. And you know why you have to know about this? Because your body is more bacterial cells than it is human cells. You're actually a hybrid. If you don't understand this, that's why we have so many illnesses, because these two factors have to be in harmony. And somebody who really cares, because it is a very complex science. I wasn't being funny by telling you this is rocket science. You have to be committed. You have to want to do this. It's a lot of hard work. And if you're not committed to do this, if you just have a marketing plan, it's not going to work because the bacteria don't cooperate because we have a marketing plan. And this is so essential for our society now because we know every major form of serious disease destroys the essential, not this stuff that they put on the label, the essential bacteria that we need for our health. Those are what are eliminated first.
Yep. That's why I always say, who rules you? If you are being overpowered by the bad bacteria, then you have bad thoughts, you have no energy, you cannot digest the process the food, you have so many negative side effects, and you think that it's about you and your history, your life and your hardships, and
Mm.
in reality is just you are lacking the essential live bacteria that will give you life, and again we will explain why, but the idea is just in a simplified manner. That's why we're talking about this is why Natasha comes on this show and still not giving up. Most people in her age would just say, who cares? You just recently shared in someone with who you worked for many years. He created a wonderful product and then sold like for some millions or something dollars and disappeared and went on his.
Mhm.
But you never give up because you truly understand you're a gift from God. And I don't understand how people don't understand this, that we have a gift from God here and speaking, and we just have to open our ears and listen. It's all
Yeah.
about the fight between good and bad, but we no longer have the good bacteria because you've been dumbed down, you've been eating food that is not correct, you've been taking supplements that you never needed, you've been injecting stuff that never needed. Your food is full of glyphosate, your thoughts and depression, all this, it creates an environment where the good bacteria will say no, no, and then you end up weak And then you think, oh, what, another supplement. It's not about supplement. Again, we need to treat the root cause of the problem. So let's continue. So you need to understand the bacteria are alive and they're all fighting for survival. So
Right.
you're working not with the dead material, but the live. Okay, so when you have something inside your mouth, and you said something very important one time. Thank God that many people who are buying the probiotics usually working with the dead
Yeah.
bacteria, because if they would inject those, they actually would get sicker and sicker. Would you
Yes.
like to collaborate?
Yes. Just to verify what you're saying, I'm now working with the dentists, and dentists realize that the first contact we have with bacteria is with our mouth. Okay. And that bacteria that's in the air right now, at least a dozen of them are resistant to any known antibiotic. This is so, so dangerous. And they now know that mouth disease leads to all these diseases in the body. Because please, if you remember one thing, this is what I want you to remember, how the body was designed. Stomach acid was designed to kill bacteria that comes what we call the background noise in any food, even, except food that's sterile, but then that has no nutrients. Every live product, whether it's cooked or not, comes with bacteria. The number one job of the stomach is to limit the amount of bacteria that can go into your intestine. So the stomach acid has to be there to kill the bacteria. It doesn't discriminate between good and bad. It kills everything. Why? The second role of the stomach is to digest protein, to break up protein. Guess what? Bacteria are mostly protein. See how brilliant the system is? You're breaking down protein to build cellular structure, and you're also killing bacteria that are mostly protein and cannot damage you if they're allowed to go through that little flap that opens from the stomach to the small intestine to cause a lot of damage. That's what this explosion with SIBO is, that your first line of defense, the stomach acid, is not doing its job. It's allowing foreign bacteria to start growing in the upper small intestine, and then they just give a name, SIBO, and 99% of the people are really clueless as to what's going on and how dangerous this is. Because if that bacteria gets into your bloodstream, you're going to have all kinds of problems. The second thing I want you to remember, all bacteria produce substances to eliminate competition, including yeast. Now, yeast makes alcohol. Why does yeast make alcohol? Not because it wants to help us. It makes alcohol to get rid of bacteria, competition. That's why you use an alcohol swab on your skin before you get a shot, to eliminate the bacteria that's on your skin. Okay? It's not rocket science. It's very simple once you understand. So every one of those bacteria make a toxic substance to get rid of competition. I only use bacteria that have evolved with Homo sapiens. And when they make that toxic substance to get rid of competition, it happens to be a beneficial substance for us, like lactic acid, okay? Or they do natural antimicrobials that don't damage our cells, that don't damage our body. If you just put any player in there, do you know that there is now a concept which needs to be proven, that most of these autoimmune diseases are caused by bad bacteria that are producing toxins to get rid of competition, and they're damaging the cellular structure in the body. And we give it a name, and people have no idea how it even came about. This is what we have to stop. You have to understand where this problem came from. It didn't just come manifest all of a sudden. It's a critical problem with the defense system and the good bacteria, the communication between the 70 to 80% of the immune cells on the intestinal wall, and whether or not this bacteria is producing a toxin that can damage the cellular structure of the body. And then we call it cancer, we call it autoimmune disease, we give it names. But today people can't connect what's really happened.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. So let's go back to teaching about the strains now. Maybe we
Okay.
should go over the strain. Okay, so we covered this important topic. We understand that it's all about the competition, it's all about survival. Then I truly want to say when I want to truly focus why you're working with the specific ones and not like many people when they put all of them together. Some say the soil bacteria is good to have in our system and this bacteria is good to be.
Mm.
Once you old-fashioned figure out that this is what we need and not many other names, because I snapped a picture from one probiotics where they had like 20 or 30 different probiotics. I'm sorry,
Bacteria. Yeah, bacteria.
bacteria mentioned, and people think this is wow, there's so many good ones, it's good, but in reality, let's teach them why you choose only specific ones, and I'm going to show them the 1, 2, and 3, why you decide just to work with all 3 of them and not 100.
No, because each one of those perform an essential function in a specific area of the GI tract, and their ability to communicate with immune cells to protect us from disease without ever harming the cellular structure of the body. And they don't harm each other, which sometimes the word probiotic has been used incorrectly.
Exactly.
Probiotic means for life. So you cannot be for life if the bacteria is not doing everything for the welfare of the human being host.
I'll go
Okay.
over on this again so that people
Okay.
will understand it again.
A
Mention
pro, a
it
pro,
1,000 times so people
yeah.
understand. Again,
Okay. So probiotic means for life. Any
okay,
bacteria that is not completely dedicated to helping your body function optimally and never be able to turn against it should be the name probiotic. Everything else should have a different question mark. Okay.
perfect.
So I don't use a lot of bacteria because these bacteria will also stimulate, according to the body's need, other groups of beneficial bacteria to grow at certain numbers that don't hurt the human host.
Okay, stop. So, specific bacteria that Natasha is working
Mhm.
is specifically designed later create the other ones that will all together synergetically work. So
Yeah.
you don't need to separate between of them. Once you have one good and the correct one, then they automatically will reproduce and have a babies, which and then will create essential other bacteria. So you
Yeah.
understand. And if you have a wrong one that actually goes against you, then they will create their own babies and they will create more harm. You need to understand there is a king, there is a queen, and there is an army.
Mm.
So what they do is they don't take a king, they take an army and they trying to tell you the army will be instead of the king. That's not gonna work, not in the world of bacteria. So you need to understand you need a king, you need a queen, and then you need other workers. No way around. So understand this, please. That's why it's so crucial. That's why, thank God that we have Natasha, the teaching us and explaining this. You will understand this in 10, 15 years. We're going to say, oh, why we didn't listen. But that's okay. That's why you're here and you
Yeah.
become smarter. Okay, so the idea is that you understand that's why this specific strain is here, because this is a king. You cannot rule the city if you don't have the king. Okay, so that's important. Continue, Natasha.
Yeah. So very well put. So what it is that I chose bacteria, which will stimulate other bacteria as the body needs it. And that's the best way. So I'll give you one example why this is so important. There's a bacterium called Akkermansia. There's a very prominent company that's pushing Akkermansia. But what the general public doesn't know, this bacteria is so sensitive to oxygen. The minute they finish fermenting it and try to freeze dry it and put it in the bottle, it dies. And
Hey,
the company,
again, go over this again.
yeah,
Again, acromencia. So that you're gonna go and you're gonna slide, then you're gonna go through Hava, who she is, we don't know. Then you continue listening to the professor. And you're going to hear the professor say, oh, we did the research and we found there is a one specific bacteria by the name Acromintia, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Then you say, oh, we should buy this. Yay, something new in the market.
Yep.
Natasha say, why is not good?
Well, I think it's upon the company selling this bacteria to guarantee that potency. Okay. So if this bacteria is so sensitive to oxygen, it's called an obligate anaerobe, and that it dies immediately when it's exposed to oxygen, how is it surviving freeze drying, encapsulation, and storage? It's not. So that's not my problem. That's why you have to look for that specific potency guaranteed. How many live bacteria are you going to get? And by the way, there's companies now who are misrepresenting, and the only way you can measure potency is something called CFU. That means colony forming units. That means when we put this bacteria in a petri dish in the lab, it's going to start growing more of itself. And then we measure how efficient it is at growing that self. And then we can give you a true potency. If you use another method, which they're now telling you incorrect information, it's called AFU, which use like fluorescent light to see if there's any life there. That is not an acceptable test in the industry to determine that you have live and active bacteria. That means they're there, but we're not sure if they're alive or dead. Does that make the sense? And this is the games that people are playing.
This is very, very important because on your label you mention everything. You mention how much they are, what is the guarantee, and this is very important. So here, remember this, people. Okay. Okay, now let's continue.
Yeah. So what it is, it's not rocket science. What it is that most people are so busy being busy, they're not understanding the basics. And it's done on purpose because the less you know about how your body functions, the more you're going to be subjected to what I call managed care. Managed care means you never get rid of the disease or the problem, you just manage it because there's no money in cure. There's only money if you have to keep going back and taking more pills and pills until you're gone. That's not our body is not defective. We are not defective. We've been told we're defective, but we're not defective. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just saying wake up. Your body's not defective. We're not defective beings. We've been brainwashed to think that for every disease there's a pill without understanding where that disease came from, that it probably came in from something you swallowed maybe a month ago, maybe a year ago, and now it's had the opportunity to grow somewhere because your immune system was underactive. That's
Natasha,
all it is.
I think, Natasha, what people might ask, they might say, let's say, okay, so they're telling us the body is not defective, then why they are telling us to take this probiotics? I don't understand what they talking. If they're telling us that we're so perfect, then what's the problem? Maybe we should.
Well, okay, the body's not defective in healing itself. The body's been compromised. Everybody in the United States of America has been compromised. Why? For 40 years, we've been subjected to 10,000 chemicals in our food supply. We've been subjected to very strong pesticides. Glyphosate is only one pesticide, which were originally patented as very strong antibiotics. Most people don't know that.
Exactly.
And there is tons of research that tells you if you abuse antibiotics, you will get cancer. Okay, that's not my data. That is I'm just condensing it for you. So your ignorance is not going to help you. You are made perfect, but you've now damaged the perfect. And we say we have the tools if we understand what the body needs to help it cure itself. And
Exactly.
also your perception of reality. Are you a person that sees life with a water glass half full or half empty? Okay. Because the bacteria don't like negativity. They don't like negative things. And it's really fascinating. They don't want to stay in a host that's like a bad, case for them to stay. So you have to become a better host in order to attract the best bacteria, in order to reach that optimal level where you're not going to get sick. There are certain people that never get sick. I mean, I haven't had the flu in 6 years. And when I do get it, I usually walk through it in one day. So that, I'm 78 years old. I have all my own teeth. I don't have inflammation of the gums. And like I said, my teeth are not like stars. They don't come out at night.
You're so sweet. Well,
So that's what you're looking for. Hey, the body's rebuilding itself every year. You got to give it the tools. You got to give it the map. You've been so, uh, I said for the population, excuse me for saying this, dumbed down, be all this ridiculous. Do you think those people selling you this stuff really care about whether you're going to get better or not? No. There are that this is the other thing that Americans as a group have been conditioned to buy stuff on sale. Now
exactly.
just think, is somebody going to give you a product that's rocket science and the space shuttle for a cheap price? No. You're not going to get the space shuttle. You're going to get something you think is a space shuttle, but you will not get the space shuttle. And that's what we need in today's day when we have 80% chronically ill people in this country and 60% chronically ill children. Until that number starts changing, we can't talk about anything else. We are a perfect body that has been compromised beyond belief.
Okay, so I also want to add to this, so that way people understand what we're speaking about. It's
Mm.
like you have this beautiful car that all the parts are working, like the most expensive maybe
Yes.
car in the world, right? And then we're trying to teach you that this is a real Maybach, this is a real good car. But what you look in the supermarket or whatever you see in the markets is basically just the top part of the car. There is no wheel and there's no wheels.
Yeah.
It's just the outside part that looks like a,
Yeah.
but
And,
in
and and it's actually a Camry. A Toyota Camry is the most stolen car in Los Angeles County. Why? Because it's so darn reliable. It is reliable car. It works.
right.
Okay.
But I want first people to understand the difference between the importance of the proper strains, between the ones that they see in the market, that they truly value what they see in front their mind, and what is the science behind, and why we are pushing to educate people. And compromise means that when you came to the world, your mama had you, and obviously after a couple months or even that day, you received a certain vaccines. Well, at that time maybe it was 7, 13, 15, and now poor children receive up to age 18 about 73, 74 injections. Okay, so that destroys your microbiome. Let's say just baby come out from your vagina, and then they've been already received something that start compromising their microbiome. That's number one. Then you go your way, you start teaching how to eat your baby, and unfortunately your baby become allergic to certain food, and it becomes ear infections. Okay, so you go, okay, so ear infection, antibiotic, you add
Hmm.
more of the good bacteria, you put more strains on this, on his poor gut, on the baby's gut. I just want you to think. Then the baby is 3 or 4 years old, and then you see, okay, finally no more eczema, and then you start introducing food that are not so clean. So let's say if it's a potato chips or other food that you buy in supermarket, or food that you buy an apple, but the apple is like been picked 6 months ago, has no any value in it. It just looks like an apple, but it's not an apple. That has no good bacteria, nothing. It's just that some looks like an apple, but it has no any nutritional value. Hey, guess what? Destroys microbiome. Then the child goes to the daycare and he's so worried about the mommy. Hey, destroys the microbiome. Then you're angry on your child because life, and not more problems. Then you get into the teenage, and then girls start with the cramping and boys starting with the pimples over their face. Oh, what should we do? Then you give them some medication to suppress the symptoms. So what do you give? Accutane or whatever you give to the boys, and guess what they do to the girls? They give them something that will work with their hormones. You go to the doctor and doctor will say, oh, we're going to fix your hormonal problems. And they give you something to suppress your daughter's hormones Do you understand what you do? Now you're destroying more of the bacteria that are there and screaming and telling you, hello, wake up. You see the pimple, it's not because there is a pimple. There is a meaning behind the pimple. It's because the microbiome is so sick and we cannot handle anymore, or we're trying to pull the toxins out through the skin, but you're not listening because it's all about let's cover the whole thing under the carpet, and you go your life, and then more problems down the road. And then another, oh, you go to the dentist, oh, you have a root canal, antibiotics, you go for another root canal, another antibiotic. Do you understand what is happening? And then if that individual already and a grown-up man that now married to the grown-up woman, and guess what, now they will have a child, what this child will have, zero of a good bacteria. And that's why we have the problem, and that's why we're working with these specific bacteria and not many others. It's like bleeding wound. You have a blood gushing and you're telling me, oh, the blood gushing, it's okay, we put some more dirt, it's okay, you go play in the garden, it's okay, we need some good bacteria, so put some. Oh, then you have another smart person will come, you can drink your own kefir, that's very good, but you have a bleeding wound here. Who cares about now the kefir, which is actually can cause more damage because it's in yeast, you're already itching between your legs, and now you trying to kind of compensate. It's not gonna work. Then you have another smart person, kombucha is so good for you. Obviously it's good, you can drink bottles of bottle, but you have a bleeding intestine. This is a big problem. You cannot take kombucha because you actually introducing more bacteria. You already have so much problems. Stop with all that. This is why we're doing what we're doing, to bringing all and make sense from everything that is happening with you. And that's why we say it's not the body is toxic. Once you provide a proper tools, which is restoring the good bacteria in your system, you no longer will be dependent on supplements. You will have an amazing mood. You'll go to the bathroom quickly and happily. You're not going to blow like a balloon because you had a stack. You're going to feel amazing. You understand? This is all about. Go back to the basics.
Yep.
Tasha, I'm sorry. I took
No,
over.
no, it's okay. No, it's okay. I mean, you're telling them as it is. You know, if you look at all the people who lived in healthy cultures, they had a specific diet, they had a specific social structure, and it was passed on from one generation to the next. What caused the problems are the wars, the upset. And by the way, just to make everybody aware, aside from the other problems we have with the war in the Middle East, all the stuff that's being spent out there, the drones, the bombs, all that stuff is floating in the air and coming to us very democratically. All of that garbage that's being spilled over there is coming to us. So we have another assault. What I'm trying to tell you, our nation is very, very sick. Our children, our mothers, and we're listening to the first thing that sounds reasonable without any in-depth knowledge. And this is what's costing us. I'm not saying I have a magic bullet. I'm just telling you we have to return to the real basics. Trust somebody that has decades of experience. You have to have in-depth knowledge, and you have to have some morals and some scruples when you sell these products, because people are using them to uplift their health or regain their health or whatever the reason they need. They have to be A, completely safe at any level, B, they have to be functional and incentivized to do something for you. They're not going to do it because you say, hey, I'm going to take this product and these microbes are going to act. No, they have to be incentivized. That's like telling me every tall man is going to be Kobe Bryant, the famous basketball player. No. What was different about him? He had talent and he was incredibly disciplined to practice all the time. That's what you need to do with the bacteria. You need to be disciplined to make sure that they're incentivized to work for you. They're not going to work for you because you have a formula and you just throw bacteria in. No, they're a lot smarter than that. So we have a problem. And I'm telling you, all of these medicines will go away if we learn how to rebuild our body.
Exactly.
And let me tell you, starving your body for food is not a great way to lose weight. We all want to take a few pounds off. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you do it that way by forcing your body to starve, you're going to go through your muscle and you're not going to look good because now the only thing your body can add is fat. So you've really destroyed your body's ability to rebuild organs or things that the body needs when it rebuilds itself every year. You're now only able to produce fat, and your face is going to sag, your skin's going to sag. You're not going to look healthy. And that's what I don't understand what these crazy people are doing. They're just tampering with a very fine, sophisticated machine, which is our body. And they have no idea. It's like the 26 blind men feeling the elephant and telling the world what the elephant looks like. That's what we're doing. We have no idea. Well, this one told me this, and this one's got the best price, and I'm going to go to this mass marketer. He even has a double discount. Do you think those people want to lose money? No. They're selling you something that you think you want or that you think will be good for you. There is absolutely no incentive for the government to make sure these supplements are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Why? Because the major funding for agencies like the FDA is still coming from big pharma. There's no vested interest for you to understand the basic, simple things of life, which can make you happy and healthy, or it can cause a lot of problems. And a lot of the things that you're tempted to eat is because you've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed to want something that's not good for you.
I agree with you. About 15, I don't know, 16 years ago, I started doing classes, and I would do the class and I would teach them about the different um, uh, cereals that children are eating. And the one mom is approached me then, and she said like, yeah, but this is this like Cheerios. She spoke about Cheerios, but whatever. So, and I'm like, this is not the real food. This is highly toxic food because yes, but you see advertisement everywhere. And who said there is a whole grain? They even whatever they put as a marketing. And I'm like, do you really understand what's are inside? Let's just even Google over each ingredient that's in there. And you will find that actually the cereal to produce it cost them maybe 14 cents. The rest is all marketing. So where is the value? Is the health of your son worth 14 cents? You should truly ask that. And she's like, wow, then why government don't care about us? Because they don't. It's your job. It's your job to help yourself and teach and educate your children. So nobody will come and save you. And we're always looking that somebody
No,
will save me. Somebody else will help me. Nobody gonna help you. You must be in charge of your own self. You have to heal yourself and you have to heal your children. This is your job. And that's why we are on the mission to truly teach you. We don't gain anything by sitting here. And Natasha is such a busy woman, have so much on her head, and still she comes here to teach you those basics. And I'm here because this is my mission. I know I want you to teach what I missed, what I didn't know. Okay, so now let's go back to our main thing. When we spoke about the strains, when we mentioned that the one that's sitting on the shelf is not good, the one that you see too many names, the one that you don't see which potency on each strain individual. Now I want you to cover one more thing. Why are you combining them? Why you're not combining them by keeping them in separate bottles? Maybe we should speak about that. And then,
yeah.
okay, let's go over
So,
that.
so when they're in a state of arrested growth, which is what they're in the powders, uh, you can't touch them together. The only reason I put 3 bacteria in the Trenev trio is because I separate them with oil. They're micro-enrobed with oil, so they're not touching each other. And plus, oil is not broken down in the stomach. It's emulsified by bile. And so by the time they get to that area of the small intestine, they're going to go to their own niches because now they've got 27 feet to choose where they want to go. They're not bound by a capsule or a bottle. Okay.
Amazing. So I want to cover this one more time so people
Yeah.
understand, Natasha. It's very serious. I'm sorry that it's very so understand there is a separation happening. If you go to the regular store and you're gonna buy all of them together and many other strains, right? What will happen? They will fight with each other, so that's not good. Okay, and the idea is that there is a separation, there is a meaning why they are, because
Yeah.
each strain works individually in a different area.
That's
And
right.
what Natasha did in a trio, the one that we have on the website, is because Natasha was able to put them in an oil matrix, and there is a meaning why. You want to say again why they are?
Yes, I'm saying because the three bottles I have, the strains are allowed to convert food into nutrients for itself and the human host and messengers to communicate with the immune system. So I keep all of that separate together. It's a real whole product. I don't throw out the culture medium and just sell you cell concentrates, which everybody else does. Why? Because it costs a fortune to freeze dry. So when they get rid of the good stuff, the culture medium, and they only concentrate the cells, they're only paying for freeze drying 3% of the product, you see? And then they put a cheap excipient, and people don't know that. And so the bacteria, the reason that these three products, the Superdophilus, the Bulgaricum, and the Bifidonate, are unique, ingenious products is because everything that they produce for themselves, I keep together. I don't separate it from them. I freeze dry everything together so they come as a complete unit. They have their food, and that food can be shared with the body to create certain healthy cells that need to be created in the body. Every minute, you're losing 10 million cells. 10 million cells have to be replaced by healthy proteins. If you're not able to do that, you're going to have premature aging and you're going to have disease. That's it.
Now let's speak about there is different strains and they work in the different areas. Which
That's right.
strain goes into their unique spot? So that's why I brought this chart just to explain. Just Natasha will explain you how it works. When you swallow superdophilus, which is acidophilus, you want to speak about that, and then we'll
Yeah.
explain
It's
where.
actually it's actually the miracle organism in the Acidophilus, the species has more than 10,000 articles published in clinical trials. It's the most studied organism we have. So
So we
why
know
is
and we swallow. What happens?
yes, what happens? We go down the esophagus, restore health in the esophagus, and there will be certain amounts that will survive the stomach and go. And actually, if you have a bacterium like H. pylori in the stomach, it'll help start to defeating that in the stomach. It's a miracle organism. It gets into the small intestine. It's going to help you finish the digestive process and make food and nutrients easy to absorb. It'll also go into your reproductive organs, especially for women. It's very important to recycle hormones. It's very important to keep vaginal health, which leads to ovarian health, which leads to health of every function of your reproductive system. This is the one miracle bacteria that will go there. The only place it doesn't really want to live, unless there's certain circumstances, is the large intestine because it's completely devoid of oxygen. And that's where the other product, my bifidonate, goes. And by the way, now there's all this research and people are only pushing bifidobacteria. Hey, listen, I introduced bifidobacteria to this country in 1986. Nobody knew what I was talking about for at least 10 years. And that's the honest truth. And I said this bacteria is important because in the large intestine is the final phase of digestion and absorption, and it gathers all the toxins to be effectively eliminated from the body. Okay. If
Exactly.
if that doesn't happen, the liver suffers. The liver has to now deal with those toxins that don't go out through the feces.
Exactly.
Okay. It's it's a miracle system if you understand it. And every one of these players I have chosen plays a different essential role in the health of the GI tract.
And also, you want to say that bifido doesn't actually doesn't live in the presence of oxygen.
It doesn't like to live. It won't live in it won't multiply. So until it gets, if you don't have a system to get it down to the large intestine, not going to do you much good. That's why a lot of these bifidobacteria infantis products don't work, because they said, oh, we're just going to throw some of this bacteria in and we're going to put the name on the label and we're done. Well, guess what? Most of that won't survive and won't even make it down to your large intestine. You have to be understanding their need when you formulate. Otherwise, it's not going to work to impress us. It
Exactly.
only cares about itself.
So let's go over. So you see, you swallow, and Superdophilus and Bulgaricum are both will work in your intestine and will go into
Yes.
the intestine, will help you to digest the food correctly.
Okay.
So if you don't have this bacteria, you're gonna feel bloated, you're gonna feel tired, you're gonna have even
Premature aging. Premature aging.
anything, all the negativity will be. Why? Because you have too much antibiotics through your life and there is no good presence of the bacteria. That's why you feel bad. And then you go to the doctor, they will tell you, you need what's called chlorine dioxide. You need this, you need that. You need, not hydrochloric acid. I'm sorry. You need hydrochloric acid. You need digestive enzymes. You need this, you need that. It's all full of crap. And you might, I'm sorry for my language, but the idea is that you need to understand why you have the lack of this specific hydrochloric acid, why you need digestive enzymes. Your body is not stupid, it creates on its own. Well, because you have no good guys in this unique system. So that's why, and we're giving you the tool. Here, take it. You're gonna take it, we'll go down and we'll reseed. I usually like to say they will start parking in a good spots. So now you will finally replenish the problem that you had. So no, you no longer need digestive enzymes. You no longer need hydrochloric, whatever. You don't need it. Your body will produce it the way it should. You just gave them what they needed. What they needed, everyone understand now. Everyone on the group will what do you need it? A good bacteria, which are
By the way,
popular.
not only that, but the good bacteria will stimulate the production of enzymes. Our Bulgaricum, which I didn't forget to talk about, is also a very unique bacterium. It's one of three in the whole probiotic field that can actually pre-digest protein for you. This is so important because it breaks the protein down in the correct molecular size so it doesn't aggravate your immune system.
Bulgaricum, you said.
Yes. And it has unique communication with the killer cell and T cells. That's your first line of defense. This is one of the bacterium that's found in natural Bulgarian yogurt. That's why the bacteria is called Lactobacillus bulgaricus, because it was first isolated at the turn of the 20th century by a famous Russian doctor, Dr. Mechnikov, who said the long-lived Bulgarians are healthy because they consumed this bacteria in their yogurt. And their yogurt was fresh, didn't sit around for 2 days, and it worked in their society because the people were general healthy. In our society, it's the most difficult bacteria to concentrate and to put it into a form that actually wants to perform for you. That's the biggest problem, the concern and the biggest hassle is to make the bacteria so that it does want to perform for you.
Exactly. Remember that it wants perform not just what on the bottle on the label, but when you swallow, it goes in, it should do the job is designed to do. And most probiotics in the market cannot do that. And we're talking about United States, but also worldwide. But let's say
It's a worldwide problem because there's no standards. There's no standards. And one more thing about the Bulgaricus is that it has an incredible stimulating effect on peristalsis. Now, most women today suffer from constipation. There's some that have diarrhea, but constipation and chronic constipation seems to be a huge, huge problem. And the Bulgaricum, along with the Superdophilus, really helps women to reset, or men reset the peristalsis, meaning when the intestines squeeze whatever starts out as food and make it into waste. That process needs to be stimulated so that the transit time is good, meaning from the time you eat the stuff through your mouth, it comes out on the other end in 24 hours or less. That's what we call an optimal transit time. Okay. And the reason you have diarrhea is because your immune system said, oh my God, we got a enemy here, gather all the water from the body and try to flush it out. So what does Western medicine do? They give you a pill to suppress the diarrhea without taking care of the cause of the diarrhea. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, yeah, what they tell you is makes sense. You're going to use your electrolytes, blah, blah, blah. How about taking care of what the cause of the problem is? The body's not stupid. It's not having constant diarrhea because it's stupid. It's telling you, hey, I got a problem down here. I need to get rid of this. I need some help.
Exactly.
You
That's
know?
this is this. I hope people will understand a little bit from today's class. I think that we spoke so much and so beautifully. You explain about the most important things, and maybe we should just cover one more, which is a life start that many people are
Yeah.
already asking me about. Why life start? And there's always why the woman at the last trimester start taking this, and why it's so important as soon the baby is born to start giving that, and why it's so essential, and what is the, would you like to cover about this?
Sure. Sure. I'll give you a short synopsis. Bifidobacteria infantis is the most important microbe to have a healthy and well child. Okay. And the problem is not what I've created. The problem is that in North America, for many reasons, about 25 years ago, we only saw 7% of the population of women were able to pass along this bacterium if with a natural pregnancy, a natural birth, and breastfeeding. And nobody really talked about it except me. And now they're hiding the numbers. I think it's probably less than 1% because we have. Why is this bacteria so important? Because a healthy baby has to have 99% of this bacterium in their large intestine. And the reason this is so important, it's the only one of the few bacteria that can actually upregulate or downregulate the immune system. What does that mean? It stimulates the immune system to act when there's a problem, or it tells it to quiet down if there's just food passing the intestinal wall. It's an incredible bacteria that communicates with your immune cells and sets them up so they don't cause allergies, food sensitivities, nor do they allow the child to get sick. It's supposed to be there to set up the first rule of how the body and the intestine should function.
Exactly.
What,
So large intestine, you need to have this essential bacteria.
um,
But since you, as a mom, no longer carry this essential bacteria because everything that we mentioned today, then when you pass to the child, you'll pass him without any bacteria. You are sick, and you're passing the same sickness to your child. And sometimes goes 3 or 4 generations already. Okay. So
yeah,
imagine that your grandmother passed something to your mom and already in a weakened state, then your mom passed it to you and you already was suffering so much you barely can go to the bathroom and poop as a normal human being, and now you have a child that also have a problem. Do you understand?
yeah.
So it's all because you are deficient is essential bifidobacteria in your stomach.
There's also interesting data, which I hope to update because sometimes they purposefully don't want to update, but it shows that the birth of autistic children come to parents who have GI problems on one side and the second side of the family going at least 2 or 3 generations back. And when those GI problems are passed forward without resolution, you get a child that, now has such bad bacteria from its mother, because don't forget, it gets the bacteria also from the father because of the intimate relationship with the mother. So you're also getting it from the father.
Absolutely.
So people are not understanding this. So this is one of the areas that, people don't even talk about, and what could be a potential cause, because when you have a weakened child, even if you give him a couple of vaccines, the child won't be able to take it because it has built up no natural defenses.
Exactly. Because they do not have the bifidobacteria. If
Right.
a child gets sick all the time, is because he has no protection. That means he has no good bacteria in his system. Understand that. That's it. Because if he had a good bacteria in his system, his immune system would quickly will fix it.
Yeah.
But do them not having this because you didn't have your mom had the weekend one with
Hmm.
trouble. Understand this. This is what, and you know what I hear sometimes. Do you hear me? Um, I,
Yes.
I, the in 1940s, Dr. Christopher, the founder of the School of Natural Healing, he would look into the eyes and he would say, "Oh my gosh, there is a mom with such a severe prolapse stomach, then let me check the daughter." They checked the daughter, and the daughter also had a prolapse. And they said, "Oh, let me check then the youngest daughter." They checked, she was only 2 years old, and she already had a severe stomach problems. And we're talking about in 1940s. Since then, we went a long way and we damaged more. And
Yeah.
that's why your children are sick. And that's why you are sick, because there is no good bacteria to help you. You're ruled by the bad bacteria, which is thriving and building a house and actually ruling you. That's it.
Yep. And most people don't even understand the microbiome, especially in the medical community. They think by reading a few documented papers, they're going to learn something. But let me just tell you that the literature that doctors read are about 15 to 17 years behind the current standard. And they have very little time to figure out what's going on and how they're going to handle this problem. So we have a problem attacking us from every face. We have insincere marketing people who are selling us products that are not good, and then we get turned off to the concept because you said, "Oh, I've tried this, it doesn't really work." Then you have a second group that does something else, and so there's mass confusion, so that people can't even think straight. And look at her cutie pie, how is she?
That's a Jewel. Jewel,
Uh,
say hello.
yes, we have your feline Dauphilis.
Natasha, and Julie is taking probiotics too because you developed specifically for the animals as well.
That's right. I said, most people will spend hundreds of dollars going to the vet. And I said, well, I can save you a lot of vet bills. If you keep your animal healthy, you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars going to the vet. The animals, the cancers are exploding in the animals just like they are in humans.
Absolutely. I
And we are, not that it's a bad thing, but people will spend more on their animal than they do on themselves. And I said, okay, if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of your animal? It's like, remember that the analogy I said, they don't tell you on the plane, put the oxygen mask on your child first. They tell you, you put the oxygen mask on yourself, then give it to the child, right?
I agree with you 100%. I always say this. When you love and take care of yourself, you also spread the light around you. But if you're walking miserable all day long, you people will not gonna be so happy around you, and your kids will not be happy, and you will pass this to them as well. So if you want first to heal, you start with yourself. Now let's speak a little bit more about the lifestyle if you want, couple seconds, and then we finish.
Yeah, no, it's what I'm saying. So the Life Start, the reason I tell them, the pregnant women, to use it in the third trimester, that's somehow we found in science that these bacteria start lining up around the birth canal. Don't tell me why, because we don't know why. And so we want this bacteria present. Then I tell the mother she should take it. And once the child is born, to keep giving it. Maybe they can put a small amount on the nipple. They can express their breast milk, mix it with the breast milk. But that's why it's called Life Start.
Exactly.
The life has to start with the best, coverage, right? We have to have the best of everything in order to ensure a long and healthy life. This country is plagued by disease because we have lost any kind of concept of what's normal and what's basic. This is the biggest problem we have. We don't know what's normal or what's basic to a healthy body. We have too many people who are giving us, I've lived through the Pritikin diet when everybody was told no, non-fat foods, and they all look like gray-skinned, aliens. These people coming off of the Pritikin diets, they looked like a dried up prune. Then, we had the era of the Atkins diet, the Palm Beach diet, all fat and protein and no vegetables and no carbs. Okay. That's not good for long term either. We have to go back to eating common sense and feeling when we finish eating and we chew our food properly, do we feel heavy or do we feel good like we want to get up and go somewhere? Because if we feel heavy and don't want to get up, it means the food is not nourishing us. We're not being nourished.
And I
That's an important thing.
And I will tell you, when you restore your microbiome in the correct way, you suddenly will feel that you're no longer attractive to the chips or highly toxic food, that you're truly hungry for food and good food. And this is so amazing because when you read the old books, they tell you that your taste buds are so important. But I'm telling you that in our time, it's not only training the taste buds, first restoring your good bacteria. Because once you restore it, the taste buds will fix themselves, and then you will see the real hunger. You will feel that, wow, I want the food, and it will guide you toward a proper food. This is so unique. I found works amazingly. Then you will find that you no longer need any supplement, because now when you eat, you truly feel happy. You're full of energy. You want to go and conquer the world. And then you go to the bathroom and you're not pushing for a long time. You actually go 2-3 times naturally, because this is the way it should be. Just give it time, learn, work with the tools. We have them. Just truly give a chance to heal yourself in a holistic way. This is all what we're doing here.
Yeah. And
And
just as a parting thing, I want to tell them the reason you can't stop eating potato chips or any chips, call them natural, baked, whatever, is because they have ingredients that make you crave that food. It's like an addiction. Just tell me the last time you sat down and were only able to eat 4 or 5 chips and you were able to put the bag away. That's why I don't even bring it home.
right.
So that's the easiest, way I can prove to you that our foods are full of toxins and chemicals, and that we're addicted to those chemicals, just like the same chemicals were used by the cigarette companies to addict us to tobacco. The same people are there putting these chemicals in our food to addict us to food. That's killing us. And all this misinformation is not helping us, our society, because just because some sexy person is telling you you need a parasite cleanse or you need this, they have no clue. They have no in-depth knowledge. They don't even understand what's going to happen to you if you just do this willy-nilly.
I tell you what, Natasha, but not only, and let's say the problem, why is unique what we do, is because you have a knowledge of 6 years being in working in this field. And I, for 30 years, was looking for the easiest solutions to help my kids to heal. So I've done a lot of, and I've treated and I learned in the different techniques, meaning I worked by using acupuncture and zone therapy,
Mhm.
reflexology, and cupping and Chinese medicine and herbs and homeopathy and all this. And I have understanding in all the fields that you will come up, and all you people will start talking about the new thing, light therapy. I've done 10 years ago. I spoke about light therapy. Anything new that comes, I already done it. Someone comes to me about the Schumann melody. Well, I have this for so many years. It's not new. I've done all it. And there was a purpose that God put me on some sort of I would say he gave me this tool so that way I can very fast go over all these techniques in healing,
Mhm.
and then found cherry pick the ones that are the most important ones. And that's why I understand everything is so simple. You work restoring your microbiome, you bringing circulation by what we do every week. We clap, we heal ourselves, and then herbs are needed in times of need for some sort of a specific problem at that time, and voila, that's it.
Uh,
It needs to be stopped talking like all the time, blah blah blah, which vitamin, blah blah. This is ridiculous. This is not good. This is
no,
take us far. So go back to basics, because we've been in this field for a very long time, and we are on a mission to build a healthy society. This is all,
yes. And
not
I
a
want, yeah, I
people.
want people to remember a couple of things. We're always looking for something new and miraculous. Believe me, there's very few things that are new and miraculous. We need to identify those things which have worked for decades and continue to work. That's another silly notion we have. Oh, yeah, it's something new. Oh, gosh, somebody got a new patent. All a patent is telling people that have a proprietary formulation. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's going to do anything for you. It's just a way for that manufacturer to impress you, to think they've got something extraordinary, when in truth it's not. Very few patents are what I call extraordinary. It's a way that big pharma protects itself to give you those chemicals to keep you managing your disease rather than curing you. So those are the things we have to start examining. That language that makes us do the things that we are not getting better, and we're listening to people who don't have the information. And I'm telling you, maybe next week we can take up these cleanses, because it keeps me up at night, because people don't understand that parasites are 500 times bigger than bacteria. So if you're constantly doing a parasite cleanse, it's like you're destroying the whole grass and then hoping that weeds will not grow back when you have nothing to replant.
And I would say, remember that you have a bleeding stomach. If you listen
Yeah.
to our conversation prior, all what I was speaking is like, remember, you have a wound, Jude. You have a wound that is bleeding. And you cannot,
Yes.
oh, the wound is bleeding, but that's okay. Now we're going to do detoxify. We're going to clean. We're going to, what? First, take care of the bleeding wound. Use common sense. Your wound is bleeding. Your stomach has no bacteria, anything you put causing you damage. So
Yeah.
first, heal, take care of it, give a love, then you can do it. But the people doing the opposite, oh, this and that, it's like irrelevant, so stupid. I'm so sorry, but it's go to
Yeah.
basics.
And all the, there's also the women that go every week to get a colon cleanse. I said, your body's not defective. I don't have nothing against these people doing. I've worked with colon hydrotherapists, but you're not something you should be doing all the time. It's you use it very occasionally and for specific reasons, and then you have to do reforestation at least for a month afterwards. Do you know that anytime you do that for at least a month or a couple of months, your whole flora is disturbed? Did you know that every time you take a course of antibiotics, and I'm not saying not to take them, your flora is disturbed for 6 months?
Exactly.
This is what people need to understand.
And most people, they take antibiotic, they do not do anything in the between, and they end up with a bad bacteria thriving and living, and the next month
Um,
go again on antibiotic, instead really providing the tools. Yeah, okay. Anyone have any
okay.
questions? All the listeners, we have a lot of nice people who come and join our conversation. Do you have any question? Would you like to ask us something? And if not, then we will close for today. And thank you so much, everyone who came. And please share with your loved ones, because you might help another person. And we are on a mission to truly restore health. We every day I wake up and I think how we can make a life better, and give the mothers tools, so that way they truly see results, and not just running around all the time,
Yeah.
but truly understand the core, the foundation. If you don't understand the foundation, then nothing going to help. You're going to continue running all around, and there will be no healing.
Yeah.
First is a basic foundation, basic knowledge. Once you understand, everything falls like a pot in the right place. Okay, any
Right.
questions? Well, I don't see any questions. We
Okay.
don't have questions. Just someone mentioned, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for teaching this. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, amazing. Love. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much, Natasha.
Okay.
Thank you. Every minute is just an amazing opportunity to
My,
learn, and thank you. I cannot thank you enough for everything.
my pleasure. And I'm telling people, spread the word. We need to re-educate a whole level of mothers across the U.S. how to take care of themselves and their family.
I agree with you 100%. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Soon. Bye.